Hey, it's been a long time since I have shared my testimony. I used to share it all the time, and as I get further and further away from the day that Jesus captured my heart, I've been sharing it less. And I've been having some people ask me lately if I would share it, and I'm going to go ahead and share it here with all of you. But here, I just want to qualify one thing. God's always giving us testimonies. The day that He captured my heart was a big day in my life, when my life was completely turned around and flipped upside down. But, I frequently share testimonies of what God is doing in my life and what He's doing today, what He did last week or a couple of weeks ago. But it's 26 years ago. In fact, we're coming up on the 26th anniversary here within the next couple of weeks of when I was on my knees and receiving Jesus into my heart. And prior to, I was I did not grow up in a Christian home. We didn't go to church. In fact, there were more so a disbelief, or I would say that my family is more atheist than they were leaning and believing in a God. But nonetheless, I didn't grow up in a home that talked about God at all. And I didn't have any recollections of ever doing, anything that would have led me toward Him. And I grew up without a father in my home. My parents were divorced when I was 4 years old. And so I didn't even have a father figure in my house. And I tell people I was part of the MTV generation. I remember when MTV first got started, and I learned how to be a man, at least MTV's definition of a man, from watching uh, music videos and listening to that kind of stuff. And I thought that being a man was getting the woman and being able to outdrink the next guy. And so I set out to do those things well, and I did. I was pretty good at doing those things, and thinking that that's what life was all about. Uh, Later in my life, when I started uh, about 21, I was becoming a heavy drinker, but that heavy drinker was a result of when I did reunite sort of with my father. And he owned the bar and restaurant. He was the one who got me drinking, and I was the one who started drinking like 7 days a week, liter of vodka every night. I was, an excessive drinker at a very young age, and I didn't know any better. I thought I was a good person. I thought that I was doing good things, but having grown up without a father in my life, one of the things that I kept on saying was, if when I become a dad, I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my dad. I kept repeating that to myself over and over and over again. But I became a father at a young age. I became a father when I was 18 years old. And that was the one thing I vowed. I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my dad. And one thing growing up that my mother always would say was, if your dad would just give us more money, life would be better, because he would really not pay his child support, wasn't taking care of us. And she always said that if he would just give us more money, life would be better. And so I uh, thought that that was the key, to a better life and to being a good dad, was making sure that you gave money. So when I did become a father, I went on out and I started working. I started working hard, working multiple jobs. Really, I was unskilled, wasn't making a lot of money, and I wanted to get rich so that I could make sure that my daughter had money, unlike me when I was growing up. And I, just had that thing in my mind. I'm not going to be like my dad. I'm not going to be like my dad. Well, I ended up being just like my dad. That was the image that I had in my mind. It was I'm not going to be like my dad. What's the picture in my mind? My dad. I did the exact same thing as him. I was off working all the time, trying to make money, saying I was doing it for her, and I wasn't there for my daughter. And I really failed as a dad. I failed my daughter. I did not do a good job in being a dad to her. In any case, fast forward a number of years later, I'm 27 years old. Next day is my birthday. I'm going to be 20, actually the next day I was going to turn 27 years old. August 4th of 1997, I get a phone call that my father had just passed away. Now, I said I didn't want to be like my dad. I was everything like my dad. Our birthday was the same day. He was going to be 52 the next day. I was going to be 27. And we had, our name was the same. We looked the same. We walked the same. We talked the same. And here I am. I'm driving to his funeral on my birthday. And I am really contemplating things. I wasn't really sad because I didn't have a great relationship with him, but I was sad that I wasn't going to ever have a good relationship with him. And he's still my father. I loved him, but lots of thoughts were going through my mind. And when I got there, in the funeral, a couple of days later, when I show up there and I see my dad in the casket, I immediately saw myself, and I saw that I was on the exact same path as he was, and it was not the path that I wanted to be on. I didn't think I was on it until I was faced with that realization. I thought I was doing good things as best as I could know at that time. I just really didn't know any better. But I also realized how much I was failing as a father. But in that moment, I knew that there had to be something more to life. And I also knew that I would be very disappointed with the way I lived my life had that been me laying there. So I knew something had to change. And that was when the search started for me. I'm a young adult at this point, 27 years old, and really starting to contemplate things about life and start searching for something different. My search, I didn't know where to search. I didn't know what the possibilities or options even were, but it was in my heart that there just had to be something. So I searched and I searched and I searched, and after 2 or 3 months of contemplating this, I just really start to fall right back into my old routine. Didn't know where to look. But I say God is faithful. God continued to pursue me, and during this time, I later on, it was probably 6 or 7 months later, I was involved in something that was pretty traumatic.